masters of adaptation, true survival artists. They get by on what nature provides. Seasons and the weather determine their everyday rhythm. They mostly live in barren landscapes of raw beauty, always in harmony with nature. Herders, the guardians of our earth. Their animals graze on a quarter of the Earth's land surface and feed millions of people, sustainably and organically. One of the oldest ways of life points the way to an ecological future. It's time to pay them tribute. On the Horn of Africa, in northeastern Uganda, herder Modor guards his cattle. He is a member of the Karamajong pastoralist society. Today, Modor lets his animals graze free on the savannah again for the first time. His cows were fenced in a pen for more than 3 months. The state imposed a quarantine after foot and mouth disease spread in the Karamoja region.
I took over the herd from my father, and he got it from his father. He said to me, "These are now your animals." I had more animals until recently, but the sickness took many of them. A couple were also stolen by cattle thieves.
The Karamajong are partial nomads. They travel many kilometers looking for water and pasture lands.
The cattle are my life. They help me plough and give us milk for our little ones. The animals are important for us because they ensure our survival. When we sell an animal, we can use the money to pay school fees for our children and make their education possible.
Modor's cattle can withstand extreme heat. Over centuries, they have adapted extremely well to the dry climate. If necessary, they can survive several days without food and with only little water. For weeks, Modor has been waiting for rain, which is becoming less and less frequent. As a result of the climate change, dry periods are getting longer and periods of drought are increasing. This results in dry riverbeds and withered pastures. And Modor's naturally resistant animals are becoming more prone to sickness. Modor must drive his herd to water. The only water that remains at the moment is in the well near his village. Hannah Longole is waiting here for him. She heads a local relief organization that helps the herders on site. How are things at home?
Everything's okay at home.
With the animals too?
So far, so good. But the sickness worries us.
Your animals shouldn't drink here. It's all very dirty.
It's too deep for them there. They don't like it and would rather drink here.
Okay, but maybe you should all clean up the whole thing, even though the animals don't drink from the deep basin.
You're right. We should clean it.
Many people regard the herders' lives as backward and unsuited to the modern world. Hannah is working to dispel this idea.
That this is not what we think about pastoralists. They are very innovative people. Actually, I think they're one of the talented people all over the world. They're resilient. They're also flexible into making sure that they find a means to solve challenges because they have coping mechanisms that have not been documented, that have not been had, that during scarcity, the communities are able to adapt. They know how to stock food both for animals and then for the local communities. What I'm trying to say is that let's appreciate the knowledge that has been there over centuries from the pastoralist communities.
Modor and his tribe live near the small city of Moroto, in Manyatas, honeycomb-shaped villages in which several families live together. The animals are very thin, Modor.
Yes, they're malnourished. This is the goat that limps.
Maybe its leg is broken.
That one there has problems too.
Modor's animals have been weakened by foot and mouth disease and their time in quarantine. He has already lost 20 lambs, and many of his animals are still sick. It's a catastrophe for him.
Unfortunately, the government doesn't help us at all. Our animals are very sick. The only thing we can do is sell a healthy animal. With that money, we buy medicine for the sick ones, but often the medicine that we give the animals doesn't even help.
The Karamajong are struggling to survive in one of the poorest, driest, and least developed regions in Uganda. The animals are all they have. The little goat that serves as their dinner was too weak to survive. Four hours drive north, along the border to Kenya and South Sudan, herders are discussing whether or not they should adhere to the state-imposed quarantine. 46-year-old Paul Apolobok is the head of the Pastoralists Association.
What's wrong with you? You just decide how you want, without even saying, come, let's talk about it together first. You do whatever you want. That's not okay.
Tempers are running high, and opinions are strongly divided.
Apparently, the animals are now supposed to move to the other side of the mountains. They were on this side before. If the oldest of us say they should go to the other side, I can't prevent it, because in our community, the group decides. The animals don't belong to anyone personally. They belong to all of us, the whole community.
Paul's home is in the little village of Kalapata, not 3 kilometers away. The Karamajong live with their families in a complicated clan system. Paul has been the head of the clan for several years and is the so-called kraal leader. As the kraal leader, he is permitted to own his own animals, a small herd that he and his son care for. Together, they keep the animals free of ticks, which are disease carriers.
This is Nae, a tsetse fly. Yes, it kills our cows and transmits disease. We must keep the cows free of pests. We must burn the ticks. Throw them in the fire.
Paul has gathered a couple of boys from the village. He wants them to practice handling the animals from a young age.
Listen closely to what I tell you. We bought food for you here at the market. You must really take care of the animals, because when you are hungry, we'll sell the animals to buy food for you. Do you understand that? Now, take the animals to the pasture. Look for good places. Open the gate. Go on. Go ahead. Go. Go.
As though foot and mouth disease weren't enough trouble for the herders, a second epidemic has just begun to spread. Contagious bovine pleuropneumonia is particularly dangerous and usually fatal. More than 100 animals have already died.
When you see that your animals are becoming sick, you normally change locations. But now we have been ordered to keep the animals in pens, In the kraal, this just means they infect each other more easily. You just have to look at how many ticks they have.
Daniel Igaru, the official veterinarian, has arrived. It's a rare visit, since there are hardly any veterinarians in Karamoja. The pastoralists and their herds are mostly left on their own. Yet even Daniel is powerless against the spread of the epidemics.
We have restricted them from slaughtering, we have restricted them from selling their milk, we have restricted them from in open markets, taking animals to sell in public areas. The government has not yet responded in terms of vaccination programs, massive vaccination in order to be able to control this disease.
Daniel can only do one thing: show the herders the symptoms of the lung plague.
You can tell whether the animal has enough blood when its eyes are as red as the color of the fabric here. If its eyes are white, you'll know the animal lacks blood, maybe because it is losing blood through its urine.
Everyone is waiting urgently for the vaccine stock to be replenished. But the government in Kampala announces that the vaccination supply has been used up. Paul and his collective are at the mercy of the situation. Instead of supporting the Karamajong, the government is promoting Western-style industrialized agriculture. Though the herders could certainly serve as models. They utilize the barren landscape in an extraordinarily productive manner by using their animals to turn even the driest plant fibers into meat and milk. In areas where farming is nearly impossible, herders secure food for millions of people. 90% of meat consumed in East Africa comes from pastoral animal husbandry. Yet the herders of the Karamajong are marginalized, both socially and politically. Only 12% of them can read and write. Child mortality is high. The women are the most disadvantaged. Lucia Achapan wants to change this. Since she was 17, she's been fighting for more equality and education. With friends, she pounds sorghum grain to make flour and sorghum juice. Once it has fermented, it becomes a popular alcoholic drink. I go to the villages to explain things to the women. I try to make it clear how they can lead good, secure lives without violence and conflicts, and how they can live in harmony, especially in their daily lives with their families. I try to raise their awareness so they send their children to school, if at all possible. Lucia motivates the women to fight for more equal treatment themselves. Awareness is growing in Karamoja that society must change somewhat. I want to talk to you about your everyday lives at home and your relationships, especially with your husbands. Let's talk about how we can all live peacefully together. The people are all hungry. Many cows have died, and now the locusts are coming too. And the cattle thieves do the rest. We have huge problems here. How are we supposed to survive? Okay, let's concentrate on that. The most important thing first. Lucia works for the pastoralist development organization DADO, as does Lupa Pius. He grew up herding and is familiar with the many local problems.
The most impacting challenges these people are facing, one of them is climate change being the most serious, which is causing the rest of the factors like conflicts. Especially conflicts arise in the form of migration on who should water first and who should graze first and where to graze and when to stop grazing. And so in that case where they fail to agree, then there is an eruption of fighting in the water bodies and also in the grazing area.
For years, Lupa and Paul have sought common solutions to keep conflicts to a minimum. They regularly organize meetings between politicians and herders. In addition to the dangerous epidemics, in Kalapata they are currently discussing the introduction of hybrid cattle breeds by the government. Native cattle are being crossbred with Western high-yield cows to make more profit.
My friend, you said the newly bred animals that you received all died. Did you register that with the authorities? Yes, the government gave me 2 hybrid cows. At first I was glad the government was helping me. I kept those 2 as well as I could, but one day one of them suddenly started bleeding from the ears. Then the second cow got sick. They both died very quickly. This is just the kind of thing we must talk about. We must inform the government that these animals are dying here. We should record it in a protocol. When I compare the newly bred animals with the native ones, the hybrid breeds are very expensive, and you have to invest a lot to keep them since you have to mow extra grass for them. The hybrid cows can't walk long distances to move to other pastures like our traditional breeds can. If the government really wants to introduce these new breeds, it will also have to take care of the feed and build stalls. When it gets very hot, we can't go out in the sun with the animals. They also don't drink from water holes because they require clean water, not like ours, which also get by on dirty water. The new breeds die when they drink this water.
The new breeds promise only short-term profit by producing more meat and milk. In the long term, they displace local adapted livestock breeds. More than 200 breeds of cattle and 180 breeds of sheep have become extinct worldwide. Genetic diversity and the corresponding ability to adapt to the climate change are getting lost. In Moroto, the livestock market is finally open again after 3 months. Modor has set off early in the morning with his animals. He wants to sell a cow to finance medicine for his herd. For many years, trading took place decentralized in the villages.
Since we now have livestock markets, the cattle sales business is better. We can now really trade the cows, buy them and sell them again and generate better earnings. The government helps with a loan program that supports me as a young herder and businessman. We received a small amount of credit that we only have to pay back after a period of time. We've got a deal. Yes, okay. Here are an additional 200,000. Okay, that's good.
For 800,000 Ugandan shillings, Modor has achieved his goal. Trading has become a new business model for him. In addition to 4 large animal markets, an increasing number of small ones are popping up in the region. In Kalapata, Paul has invited people to a peace conference with representatives of a neighboring pastoral community, the Turkana from Kenya. For a long time, they were deadly enemies, fighting armed battles over the best pastoral grounds and stealing each other's herds. There were frequent deaths. A peace process began in 2014. Michael Aquino is the head of the Turkana community that grazes its animals only 30 kilometers from the border. Here he can speak freely today and no longer has to fear for his life.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. I thank the Ugandan government, which serves as my protector. Thank you very much for this, because threats always spell trouble. I can now come here. The people know me, and I feel safer.
In order to solve the armed conflict, the Karamajong were disarmed by the Ugandan government. 40,000 weapons were confiscated.
You heard what the leader of the Turkana said? He said peace is good. Peace is a precious commodity. We have created peace and agreed that we will stop the attacks. We do not need negative things. Our duties are to raise our animals, farm our land, and live happily. Good things come only with peace.
The Turkana will also be disarmed soon. Kenya and Uganda have already signed the bilateral peace treaty.
Peace shall reign from here to Kenya and Somalia. I pray that all evil things stay far from us, far from our animals, far from our people.
Now Michael can cross the border with his animals undisturbed. And he can even let his animals stay overnight in Paul's pen.
The kraal serves to protect the animals from cattle thieves. That is actually the reason that we build them so elaborately. Besides, the hyenas outside would finish off our animals. It does take a few days to build such a kraal, sometimes up to 20 days or an entire month. We first have to haul in all the logs and branches.
Madalena Nakiru has a lot to do in the kraal. She is a trained animal health worker. Look, for cows that are as sick as this one, you should use medicines from the pharmacy, not home remedies. In places where there are not enough veterinarians, helpers such as Madalena look after the animals' welfare. The concept was developed by international aid organizations. Watch. You can only inject it under the animal's skin, nowhere else. There's a very specific spot here. Also, you need to deworm the cow. Yet Madalena's treatments represent just a drop in the bucket if comprehensive vaccination measures are not implemented soon. The crowded stalls also concern us. The animals can't breathe. One animal urinates or vomits. Another one is standing right next to it and gets the sickness. It was better in the past, when animals could still run around freely. That was more relaxed. Our request from the government is that they allow the animals to be outside again. Lupa will pass Madalena's requests along to government representatives, but he has his own wishes for his country.
The first thing that needs to be done is recognizing them as one of the producers of foodstuffs that feed the population that cannot be reached. For example, recognizing them as people who can better stay in a dry area. We also look at mobility as a way of escaping some of the disasters or risks and shocks that can happen in an area that cannot be reached by maybe a policy.
Due to the work of Lupa and many other activists, pastoral lifeways are receiving more and more recognition. Even on an international level, an increasing number of institutions and players are involved in strengthening pastoral cultures.
Since we have begun to live in peace, society has changed. I myself have brought 2 young countrymen to Kenya who will live for 2 years with the Turkana. It was a good exchange, and peace has come to me as well. The people have begun to use land again that used to be contested. For instance, now the cows are also grazing in far-off areas like Lucia again.